Yeah. I spit raps like a heart attack, fast fatal heart impacts, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and packs. I back up my actions, fact don't ask, grab reactions, jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose. Pick a new silver excuse, I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're just freaked out. Get ready for defeat now, I'm gonna make you bleed out. Listen on repeat now and read out all the weak now. Get up and make a change, don't remember yesterday. If you got something to say, speak your mind before your grave. Cause your life is yours to save, ain't nobody gonna change. Everybody stays the same, so be different, make a name.
Hello and welcome in. I'm Kyle. I am your host. You can find me on Twitter at KL_fantasy. This is the University Podcast. Today we are covering the second half of our 2021 college football preview. We covered the east side of the U.S. last time. We're covering the west side this time. And joining me is the California man from the Undroppables. He's the host of the 2-on-1 Fantasy Sports Podcast, Tommy Moe. Welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight?
What's up, Kyle? Thanks so much for having me on. I'm so excited for this podcast, just mostly for the show, for like you starting the show, us, as a team, Undroppables taking a dive into Debbie, and yeah, super stoked to join you here today from California. So I'm like, all teed up on Pac-12 action, and diving into Debbie this year in the offseason, joining a few leagues, a couple of campus to Canton leagues, and even one college redraft league. So just trying to get my feet wet completely in college football and do a little bit more than just, redraft and dynasty like we've been doing over at the Undroppables.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, man, you've been having some good shows, so I'm excited to join some of your awesome guests that are way, way more knowledgeable than I am when it comes to college football. But, I'm definitely going to do my best here today and stoked that you had me on the show. Yeah,
those campus to Canton guys, obviously this is their forte. Obviously, here at the Undroppables, we're more of a dynasty website than a college one, but we'll try our best.
Yeah, man, we make it work. We try to play everything. We want to be able to give as much information and advice as possible. And when these new formats come out, we got to jump in there and try it. Right, we got to get our feet wet and learn the game, so that when people ask us questions, we have something to say, as opposed to like, I don't know, George Pickens. I know our man Dunks, like that's his guy every time, just George Pickens constantly. And before that was Rondale Moore. So he's right somewhere. So let's. Hopefully that strategy keeps working.
Absolutely. And last episode in part 1 with Austin, we ended off on the Big Ten East to set us up for this episode where we're going to start with the Big Ten West. And much like the Big Ten East, where they got Ohio State over there, who's the strong front runner, the Big Ten West has Wisconsin. They have Graham Mertz at quarterback, Jalen Berger at running back. Obviously, always a good rushing team up in Wisconsin. What do you think about the Badgers next year?
Yeah, I like Wisconsin. Like you said, it's always been a great rushing team. So I'm always curious about who their running backs are, who the next man up for Wisconsin is going to be, because usually they're going to be pretty good. Jalen Berger, I think, is phenomenal. I picked him up in one of my campus to Canton leagues. I think he's going to be, the next great one, Melvin Gordon type. And then Graham Mertz, I think, is a great quarterback, great size. With a lot of these guys too, and you sent me a pretty good list of players, and it's so interesting this year because of such a shortened season in 2020 that when you're looking at a lot of these players and looking at their stats and trying to evaluate them, especially like for a guy like me that doesn't know a lot of these guys, right, and is trying to catch up on watching film, so the easy thing to do is look at the stats, but the stats are all skewed because of like shortened games. So I'm really curious to see how Graham looks with a full season, because I think his freshman year he only played in 2 games, so I want to see him with the full year. And then Jake Ferguson over there at tight end is just kind of like that stud, that Midwest like big don't want to say like corn fed because he's not in Nebraska, but pretty much, he's just one of those big boys over there out of Wisconsin, catching passes and blocking in line. And so I think, they're definitely set up on offense to be a really, really good team this year. And I'm really excited to see mostly, the backfield, see how they do.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because I have Mertz and Berger both at 31 respectively in their positions. Somehow nice. Wisconsin ended up with the same rankings. And obviously in the AP poll, they're ranked number 12, the highest one in this division. But at 18 is Iowa. And they're another team that usually runs the ball well. They have another great tight end in Sam Laporta. And they've been a tight end factory at points. Do you think they can challenge?
Tight end U. Yeah, tight end U. I mean, I don't know. A lot of this will come down to the defense too, and Iowa's usually pretty strong on the defensive side. But I think Wisconsin's gonna have a little bit too much firepower for really anyone. Besides, I think we're gonna eventually talk about Minnesota. But I definitely don't think Iowa has enough. But they'll definitely have solid tight ends like they always do. They always have a solid offense like they always do, playing that Midwest style of football, which just kind of like your power I formation type. I feel like that whole that whole conference, the Big Ten West, is kind of just like your old school type of, not smash mouth football, but still wants to run and hit you in the mouth, and just kind of beat you with size, as opposed to just speed and tricks.
Yeah, and speaking of those Northeast type of teams, we got Northwestern, who's usually pretty good on defense, but that offense this year just doesn't have anybody I like. I mean, I had Cam Porter, their running back, just inside my top 100, but then he got injured. I thought Ryan Helinski, not Tyler, was going to be their starting quarterback. I liked him at South Carolina, but then he didn't even win the job. This whole team is going to come down to defense.
Not looking good. I don't have anybody from. I mean, these campus can leagues are the rosters are pretty deep, and I don't have anybody from Northwestern at all. So
it is not a fun team on offense.
No, so let's just skip past all those guys.
They'll probably win some games. Because of their defense, but no offense there. And then the next team actually does have an offense. That's Minnesota. They've been pretty good since PJ Fleck took over as head coach, obviously coming from Western Michigan. Just a great offensive attack. They have Tanner Morgan as their quarterback. He's been there for what seems like forever. Obviously, they lost Rashad Bateman to the NFL and the Ravens, but they bring up another wide receiver in Chris Ottman-Bell, and they have a great running back in Mo Ibrahim, which I know you really like Mo Ibrahim.
Yes. Very much like Mo Ibrahim. I just think he's solid. What does he remind me of? He reminds me of Marshawn Lynch. He reminds me exactly of Marshawn Lynch. I think he wears number 24 also. Just has that same size, same build, same style of running. A very north-south runner, but can turn on the jets, can juke you, but will run you over also. And so, I like Mo a lot. And gosh, I'm trying to think. There's another guy that went to Minnesota back in the day that had the dreads too. That I can't remember his name. But it's just and Minnesota is another one of those schools like Wisconsin. I feel like that always puts out like a really good running back. They're just always kind of like unheralded. They're not the big guys, not the guys that's going to be up for a Heisman watch, but they always just have someone that's like a sneaky good running back. And I think Ibrahim's like another one of those guys. So I'm really excited for him this year. Definitely a guy that I have, at least in one of my campus can leagues, and was targeting him in other drafts, but just couldn't get him. So like Mo a lot.
Yeah, I know you did take him in the UND C2C, I believe.
Yep, that's what it was.
And then also in this division, we have Indiana, which I listed as one of the bottom teams, and I'm not sure why I did that because they're actually pretty good.
Are they?
They are. They're 17th in the AP poll.
Okay.
They have a pretty funny quarterback name, Michael Penix Jr.
Nice.
I think he's left-handed. He might be one of the only left-handed guys, but he's pretty good. He's pretty darn good. He's one of those guys who flashes all the time, but also is pretty inconsistent. And then they have a fifth-year wide receiver in Fry Fogle. who I thought was going to go to the draft, but didn't. So he was really productive. Actually, he might just be a fourth year, but it was one of those guys where I thought for sure he was going to go, but he did not. So Indiana is definitely a team to watch. But outside of Indiana, these bottom two teams in Purdue and Nebraska just don't look like they're going to win a lot of games. David Bell. We can talk about David Bell.
But there's David Bell. So they may not win a lot, but they got David Bell, and that guy's legit. Yeah, I next, kind of not Rondale Moore exactly, but like, it's kind of like that next one. Like Rondale Moore came out, now it's David Bell, and like everyone's waiting for him to see what he's going to do this year. So I'm really excited. It sucks that they might not win a lot of games, but for fantasy, it doesn't really matter as long as he's getting the opportunities and getting the ball in his hands. That's really all that matters. And so, I think this is still a fantasy, right? It's a Devy podcast, a fantasy podcast. So, yeah, like who cares how bad the team is going to be as long as the individual player is good, which reminds me of like playing football in junior college. Like we didn't care if we won or lost. We literally just cared about our stats, and we were only there to like get a scholarship. And so like I feel like that's, when you're playing fantasy, it's like the same mentality, right? Like who cares if they're actually good? You just want to see them score points. And so and I'm gonna be honest with you, Kyle. I don't know a lot of these guys on the list like that well, so I'm loving like the information that you're giving me and giving the listeners, because I'm catching up on some of these guys. Like, I assume Purdue is going to be all right because they had David Bell, but I didn't know the rest of the team sucked. So this is fantastic for me. Like I said, I'm just diving into Devy in college football more, from a fantasy perspective. I've always been a college football fan, but from a fantasy perspective, and to know these guys as much as I know the NFL has been new and interesting and different, and I think for someone like me, like saying that, like I just hope like saying it for other people that might be listening to this show is like dive in there, jump in. Like it's different, and it's a whole learning curve, but just like anything, like you can pick it up and learn these guys and listen to a show like University or the Campus to Can guys, or Brandon Lejeune. There's like great Devy guys out there, Kevin Du Bois, and so guys that like know their stuff. And so, listen to them and listen to Kyle talk. Like, it's great because I'm just like, yeah, like I kind of know these guys, but not really, so hearing you like give me some insight is great on, not just who the players are, but if the team is actually going to be good or not.
Yeah. The real issue with Purdue is they just can't find a stable quarterback. Obviously they have the weapons for those guys to throw to, but just nobody who can get it done. And they did steal a running back from Indiana in Samson James, who has some tools, looks kind of interesting. But that entire offense is my 2022 wide receiver 3, David Bell. And the rest of it, there's another wide receiver they have coming up who I forget his name, but he looks like he might just be a 3. They say things come in threes, so there might just be 3 of these Purdue wide receivers.
Yeah. I'm waiting for it. But, and if if Duncan, if you're still watching, you want to jump in there with like your, I know you're a Purdue homer. If like I should text Adam Hutchinson and get the next Purdue guy, because those guys definitely put the knowledge out there about Rondale Moore and now David Bell. So yeah, who's the third guy up? I'm curious to get that guy added to the list as well.
Oh geez, it's Milton Wright. That's the name I'm thinking of.
Milton Wright. Okay, let's write this down. Milton right now. All right, let's do this.
Right now. And then next up, the last one in this division is Nebraska. And really, the only storyline of Nebraska is how quickly does Scott Frost get fired? Over under should probably be about 5 games.
What wasn't the biggest story? Their uniforms this offseason, those fake uniforms. Those are fantastic.
Yeah,
I was kind of bummed that it was fake, just because like it was so bad. Like it was so bad, it was good. Like they should just go ahead and go with the whole Cornhusker look with the overalls. Like that would have been amazing.
I don't know. I've seen some pretty bad uniforms. There was one for Tennessee where they took the normal Tennessee away uniform, made all the orange pink for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It looks so bad. Yeah,
that's not good. That's not a good color combo. No, doesn't look good on TV either. But yeah, it sucks for Nebraska because like I have friends that like hardcore Nebraska fans. Always were watching
Absolutely.
Nebraska football, and like they have such a storied history. That black shirt defense, that just is like if you've grown up and had like old school football, love old school football, like Nebraska football. That's what it is. It's like that's the smash mouth football, right? Of the Big Ten Conference is really coming from Nebraska. And so you kind of hate to see a team like that's been struggling because they're good, they're a good program. It's just if the coach isn't doing it or whatever reason, it just sucks because they're historically have been such a good program and putting out good players and on both sides of the ball, phenomenal quarterbacks that could run and great defenders. So you just kind of hate to see some of these teams go into their slumps, but it happens all the time.
Yeah, they have an incredible fan base. Much like Tennessee, they're one of those. There's one of those teams that'll fill out their stadium when they're winning 4 games in a season, and it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and there's fans here in California. There's a bunch. There's a few teams that really kind of transcend borders like that. I feel like Notre Dame's one of them. Nebraska is definitely another one. At least for California, because those teams are so far away. But yet we still get a lot of people that are fans just because, it's a great program. It's a great school.
Yeah. And we'll go ahead and jump over now to the Big 12. Obviously, the team to watch there is Oklahoma. We can talk about them every year, and we will. You look at the betting odds for the playoff, it's Alabama, Oklahoma, Ohio State, and Clemson. And then everybody else is like so far behind in the odds. So what do you think about Spencer Rattler? Obviously, he is one of those guys who actually started last year. And these other quarterbacks that we have in the top 4, we have Howell, who started last year, but Uyangalele and Bryce Young, we've barely seen. So what do you think of Rattler?
The problem is, like, I'm a huge homer for DJU and Bryce Young, like immense, like more than the Raiders even. Like I'm a huge homer for these guys. So no one in my mind kind of like me, like I know Spencer's good. I know Spencer Rattler's really good, right? It just I'm gonna put those guys up there. Bryce
we all have them.
Bryce Young went to my my high school, so like I have to love him. DJU is like loosely related to my family. Like I think like 3rd or 4th cousins or some shit by marriage. And just being Samoan, like I'm gonna root for him. Like it's gonna happen. So I have that bias there, right? So I just want to like kind of get that out of the way also. But Spencer's dope. He's that next quarterback to come out of Oklahoma. I think he really has a shot to like, at least with the offense, he has a shot to possibly win the Heisman just based on the offense, the opportunities, the high level caliber of teams they're going to play against. If they can get back to the bowl, to the championship, then that's going to put him up higher in Heisman votes. And so I think he has a really good shot at that just from the opportunity that he's in. Now let's talk about all of his talent that he has bringing to the opportunity. He's that Konami code type of quarterback, right? Has ability to run, doesn't run a ton, but has ability to run. Throws a great ball. And I think is a perfect
Massive
fit
arm
for that next quarterback. Yeah. Huge arm for Oklahoma. So, really, really curious to see how he does this year. Like you said, Oklahoma is definitely the team to watch, in the Big 12.
Yeah.
And that's saying a lot too with some good, the other teams, they, again, not necessarily from a team standpoint, but they got other players that are really good on those other teams in the Big 12.
Yeah, and speaking of like the opportunity you were talking about, the rest of that offense is insane. They have probably like 3 former 5-star wide receivers by now, and those guys might not even be starting this year.
Yeah.
They have a transfer running back from Tennessee, Eric Gray, who I think is just outstanding.
Yeah.
Obviously, Kennedy Brooks.
That's right. They have Eric Gray. That's right. I totally forgot. But yeah, dude, they're going to take it. Like, Eric Gray is so damn good.
Obviously, Kennedy Brooks, who was like 1,000-yard rusher 2 years ago and then sat out because of COVID. They did lose Marcus Major to academic suspension this year. Like that just came out today.
Damn.
And they brought in another transfer running back, though, Trey Bradford. who will probably fill in Major's role because they do like to use 3 running backs, which is a little disappointing because I wanted to see Gray be out there 100% of the time.
Totally.
But
yeah. Well, and then I think too, seeing success with Ramondre, coming from the JUCO ranks, I think they're probably seeing that too. That a guy could step in and be ready to go. Because he's probably been playing for at least 2 years already. Granted, same with Eric Gray too, but a lot of these teams, it's almost like with the pros, if they can stack as many like talented players on the roster as they can, they're definitely going to. And with the transfer, rules kind of being a little bit looser and guys being able to transfer and play in the same year. I mean, yeah, you're going to see like more teams like this just continue to be stacked every single year. Yeah. And Oklahoma, we've seen it with the Heisman Trophy candidates, and the quarterbacks they've had, them and Alabama. It's just like they just reload every single year.
And they have the number 2 quarterback from the 2021 class, the incoming freshman, the number 2 quarterback. He was number 1 until Ewers switched. They're bringing in 2 5-star wide receivers in 2023 and a 5-star quarterback. Literally just every single year they're going to bring guys in. Same thing as Ohio State is doing with Ewers, McCord, and Stroud. They're going to have those same type of talent just for years to come.
Yeah. Did they get oh no, that was Notre Dame. I was thinking, did they get CJ Williams? But that's Notre Dame.
No, the guy. Yeah.
Okay.
And then obviously the team that everybody else wants to talk about in the Big 12 is usually Texas. I never believe in Texas. They always want to think they're back, but are they really back?
Okay, is this a homer take for you though, or because yeah,
I mean, what has Texas done since like Vince Young?
Since USC, yeah, basically since that. I mean, there's been guys that came out and they've had a couple good years, but I think that's the thing too. Like they'll always have like a couple good studs, like Bajan. But yeah, as a team, I mean, yeah, it's been tough going for them as well. And that's another team that's been on the top, before, but even then, I think it's always been their offense kind of leading the way a little bit. Even though they've had some really, really good defensive players too. But yeah, Texas will always be back every year, right? That's kind of.
I mean, as the state school of this, like the best high school state in the country, or at least one of the top 3, they're always going to have talent.
One of.
I had to stop myself because I knew you would argue with me.
Yeah, we're gonna argue on it. I mean, it's Florida, Texas, California. Like that, I think that's just the way to say it. And like to say anyone's better than the other is like a losing argument because there's just phenomenal talent across the board from just those 3 states alone.
Yeah. Anyway, while Texas thinks their fans probably think they win the division, the teams that I think will actually be better than them are definitely Iowa State and TCU.
Yeah.
Iowa State brings back Brock Purdy and Breece Hall, and obviously those guys have had great collegiate careers so far. Purdy was a guy we thought might come out last year, didn't. He was a guy that I had like a 2nd or 3rd round grade on. I was surprised when he went back, kind of similar to Desmond Ridder at Cincinnati. And then Breece Hall has had like 2 straight 1,000-yard rushing seasons. It's just hard to see him not working out.
Yeah, I love Breece Hall. That's one guy I know a lot about in this of all the people you have listed. He just reminds me of David Montgomery, like all over again. Like he looks the same on the field, kind of runs similarly. A lot of similarities in their game, and say what you want about David Montgomery, but I really like David as a player. I think he, like a lot of rookies, needed a little bit of time to kind of adjust his game to the NFL and change things up a little bit. And then you saw him in year 2 last year running a lot harder, running a lot more north and south. He stopped trying to always jump cut outside and beat someone with the speed, because I think a lot of these guys think they're fast and they come to the NFL and then they realize how fast everyone else is. So yeah, Breece is fantastic. I think in the first Campus Can draft I did, he was my first round pick, I think at like 106 or something. And I think, you can make an argument for a lot of other really good players there as well. but Brees was my guy, and you know, I some people have him as their RB2 coming into this year, and I think he could, you know, there's a good argument, you know, who's your top 3 people, but he's definitely top 5 in my opinion, and I think he's a really, really good runner, and you know, in a really good system too that'll feed him the ball.
Yeah, he's my number 2 overall and my number 1 for next year specifically.
Nice.
Obviously, last season he had 1,572 rushing yards, 21 rushing touchdowns, led the nation in rushing yards, even with Najee Harris and Travis Etienne. It was still Brees. So, as a sophomore.
Awesome. You love to see that.
Yeah, just absolutely incredible. I think he'll be definitely one to watch in the draft cycle next year.
Yeah. And like, you know, without knowing all the numbers, I feel like he'll check all those analytics boxes, you know, those analytics boxes that like Master June and our team like really look for, you know, and you know, Jax Falcone has his anatomy of a running back series. You know, I think he'll really hit all those boxes, you know, for especially even just like BMI, draft capital, speed, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I think maybe breakaway speed might struggle a little bit numbers wise, but everything else, I think he's a phenomenal talent. He'll definitely hit that breakout age too, you know, which everyone loves to hang their hat on with these rookie prospects.
Yeah, and if you're interested in reading more, on theundroppables.com, coming out today was my 2022 running back preview.
Nice.
We got Brees Hall at number 1. Obviously, we mentioned Eric Gray earlier. He's number 3. And then there's some guys on the East Coast that we covered last week that you'll just have to read the article to find out.
Yeah, I got to read that one. That one's a great one. Already getting primed for next year, which is nuts. Like we haven't even started this season, and we're already getting primed for next year, which I think is so crazy and fun about doing Debbie and Campus Ken and just straight college redraft leagues is, you know, you're getting a head start on evaluating all these guys before they get into the league. And for some of you, yeah, the Debbie leagues, you're, you know, locking these guys up before they get into the NFL. So it's been fun for me to kind of like start that whole process earlier, you know. And Kyle, I know you've already been on it for some time now, but you know, for me as someone that's just, you know, a dynasty guy but really gets into rookies, like that process usually doesn't start for me until like January, you know, and here we are in August and I'm behind. You guys have already been doing it, so it's crazy. You know, it adds a whole nother wrinkle to the game, which I find a little bit more fun than, you know, not to talk shit on IDP or anything, but just I like to add that wrinkle. You know, I'd rather just add more players that you can scout and evaluate than a whole other position and doing that IDP stuff. You know, I'm a defensive player. You know, fantasy is scoring points. I can do a couple. I just can't do that full when they do full IDP with, you know, like 4 linebackers, like a whole team. Like that's just too much for me. But this is cool. I like jumping in this. This is a lot better. Yeah,
and we'll keep jumping in. TCU is the next team. Obviously, the Horned Frogs are pretty good all the time, basically, historically. And they have Quentin Johnston as their wide receiver. He's my overall wide receiver 9 for Devi. And he's one of those guys who, when he comes out in 2023, is going to check every single box for the analytics guys. He just had an incredible freshman season where his what am I thinking of? Dominator was incredible. Mm-hmm. His yards per team pass attempt is the other one that people want to pull out these days. Was incredible. Definitely someone I think is worth watching. And then they have a former 5-star running back, Zachary Evans, who's my running back 12 overall. Obviously, tumultuous recruiting for Evans. That dude committed to like 4 different schools, didn't even sign on signing day, and then got out of one of his signed contracts and ended up at TCU of all places.
See, and that's crazy, right? Like that's like you want to give these guys some freedom and some flexibility, but God, then they have like all the power, you know, to just like change things like on a drop of a hat. You know, and you spend all this time like recruiting them and prepping for them to be on your team, and then they just bounce, which is like just wild, you know. And so
especially with the new transfer rules.
Yeah, you know, and so like it's tough because you like I said, you want them to have some freedom, but at the same time, there needs to be like a balance, right, between people just jumping ship and leaving, and that's happening in high school. Like my high school alma mater gets scrutinized for it all the time, recruiting, and not just recruiting, because that's kind of like gone away and everyone recruits now, but for guys literally coming in, playing through their senior year, and then transferring back out to finish and not even graduate their senior season. So, that's kind of been happening here in Southern California a little bit too. So, you kind of hate to see it, but at the same time, the alternative kind of, sucks too, where guys are just locked in a shitty situation they can't get out of.
Is it a public or a private high school?
Private high school, yeah.
Okay.
Mater Dei High School in Santa Ana, yeah. So, we've definitely put out some good college players, a few NFL players, but at the same time, yeah, it's they've always gotten flack for recruiting, especially in the '90s when it was definitely frowned upon. But lately, like the transfer rules here changed also, so it got more lax and people were cruising in a little bit easier. But then, like I said, what the issue was them also leaving, and like that definitely looked bad.
Yeah, out here in Tennessee, the privates are allowed to recruit and the publics aren't technically.
Oh,
but the public schools still try to do it because they have to keep up, and it leads to this whole mess.
yeah, it's crazy. It's nuts, and then you get like these same schools kind of being, dominant, for the national rankings and stuff, and you get the same players. It just, I don't know. It's weird, because you like want to have the ability to go where you want to go. You want to be able to send your kid where you want to send them. But then you have these teams that are just kind of stacked, and it's one thing if that's in the college level, and there's NCAA to kind of try to stop against that, but to have it at the high school level is kind of nuts.
Absolutely. And then, we'll keep on moving. Big 12, we got, other than TCU and Iowa State, we got Oklahoma State and West Virginia. I mean, Oklahoma State has Spencer Sanders as their quarterback. A funny stat about him is he had the same number of completions last year and the year before.
Oh,
exact same. Yeah.
All right. The guy's consistent. You can bank on that.
Consistent. Only issue is if he does that again, we won't be very excited about his draft prospect.
Because it wasn't that good? No.
Well, they didn't play 12 games last year, and he didn't start all the games freshman year. So.
Oh, there you go.
But I mean, both those teams not super exciting. Obviously, Oklahoma State was good last year, but they lost Chuba Hubbard. They lost Tylan Wallace. We'll see what happens. Obviously,
is the quarterback back?
Spencer Sanders, yeah. But
no,
Mike Gundy usually does a good job. So, and he's very highly paid, so they should expect results from their head coach.
Wait, didn't their quarterback last year get hurt in the middle of the year or something?
They had two that were going back and forth.
Yeah, okay.
Spencer Sanders and Shane Illingworth, I think.
That's right. Yeah, I just didn't like. I don't know. Every time I watched like film on Tylan Wallace or Chuba, actually mostly on Chuba, and I just like see Tylan Wallace running routes, and he wasn't like not even being looked at all. And I just like I didn't know if that was the quarterback or the offensive scheme or what. But I just hated to see it because the guy was open and could have had like way better stats than he did, especially last year. But I think I thought it was because someone got hurt, like the quarterback, so they were kind of limiting reps or scheme or something.
Yeah, and then the other team is West Virginia. I'd say they're at 6-6, run-of-the-mill team. On the Devy side, they have Letty Brown, their running back, who just rushed for 1,000 yards last season. He'll be a great producer in college fantasy and campus to Canton, but probably not a guy who's going to get significant draft capital. So that's about it for West Virginia. Moving on, we have Texas Tech, the Red Raiders. Pretty solid offense, and they just used the transfer portal to their advantage this year. They added former Oregon quarterback Tyler Shaw, I don't know, but
Shaw?
But he was a guy who had a lot of hype coming out of high school. Never really put it together at Oregon. If you looked at Walter Football in the past year, Walter Football had Tyler Shaw as their number one quarterback for last year's draft class for like 6 months.
Wow.
And it never made sense. It was never close to true.
Look, we don't want to say bad things about other websites, but it's not good.
You can say whatever you want about Walter football on this podcast. I can't stand them.
Well, guess we're taking a stand here at Undroppables. Walter football. You know, it's funny for anyone listening. We put together a rookie draft guide that came out right around the NFL draft. And, just trying to get like all the resources together to help the team make this happen, and I put Walter football on there because, to be fair, like they evaluate college players and have a database of players. So at least it's somewhere to look at. And the amount of shit that I got from our team for putting Walter football on there, not just as a website that doesn't function well, but because of some of the shit that guy has said in the past. Definitely stop using that resource. So I guess we'll just put it out there on wax that Walter football, while they try well, or try, I guess we're not gonna use their. He writes things. He writes things. Yes, he looks at football players and he writes things and he lists players. So if you want to list some players and get,
there's better places to find lists.
Yeah, man. Anyway,
Texas Tech.
And
other than show. I don't know. They brought in a former Troy wide receiver in Kalon Geiger, who is a guy that I have on both my C2C teams. Smaller guy, faster guy, kind of like he was really productive at Troy for the past 2 years, but maybe not somebody to be super excited about in terms of the draft. He's kind of small. If I remember correctly, he is 5'10".
Okay.
And he's going to be a fourth-year senior, so he didn't get an early declare. But he was a 2-time All-Sun Belt selection at Troy. Had 1,600 receiving yards in 3 seasons, I think. So definitely.
There's some short wide receivers coming into this draft class. I mean, I don't know if they'll actually make it to the draft, but there's just a bunch. Like I remember, you get into like rounds, I don't know, 10 plus of any of these drafts, and you're starting to like just find random players, and so many of these guys, like, it was just like 5'9", 5'8", and you're like, man, what the hell? But they're productive, and they're actually making something happen. So
I created something this offseason that I called the Darnell Mooney Award. Nice. Because when Darnell Mooney came out, I was a big fan. And similarly, last season, it was Jalen Darden, smaller guy, faster guy, who I really liked. And I put out a Darnell Mooney Award watch list on Twitter.
Yes.
I had Jaquari Roberson out of Wake Forest, Tavion Robinson out of Virginia Tech, Dante Wright out of Colorado State, who we'll talk about a little bit later, and then Jalen Robinson and Amarion Brown. Just a couple of guys, a bunch of guys actually, 5 guys, who are all fast, super fast, but shorter.
Yeah.
Probably don't get jump balls as much, but they're electric with the ball in their hands once it gets there. So,
I mean, if you're going to say they're like Darnell Mooney, then, I mean, that's awesome. I love that.
You know what's crazy is that I loved Darnell Mooney pre-draft, and I still love him, but I actually think that people are getting too high on Darnell Mooney.
Too much? Just a little too much?
Yeah, like he's exciting, but I don't think he's an alpha. Like people are expecting him to take Allen Robinson's role next year, and I'm like,
no, that's dumb. You shouldn't do that.
I might sell if you guys think he's going to do that.
Yeah. People, if you're thinking that out, don't do that. Allen Robinson is the alpha. We let's sit down, give me a call. I'll show you tape all day. Allen Robinson's the alpha. Like he's going to continue.
More so like after his contract expires, like they think Mooney's going to take over.
Step up.
Yeah.
He's not that guy. You're not that guy.
You're not that guy, pal.
He's just not. Like I don't. I don't even want him to be, because I just know it's that far off that he can be. Like it's not. He's just not that guy. I mean, the best he's hoping for is like a Tyreek Hill type of thing, but like there's no other Tyreek Hill. Like it's not going to happen. You just can't have that. So it's
Mooney is fun because you got him in the back of the 4th round or for free, and now he's a wide receiver 3.
Yeah, and you've been holding on to him, and you've been waiting, and he was And that was who left? And everyone's like, oh, Darnell Mooney season. I was like, dude, it was already Darnell Mooney season. Was it D.D. Westbrook? Who was it? Someone got cut.
Was it Ted Ginn?
No. It was Anthony Miller. Anthony Miller got traded. And it was like, Mooney season. Like, it was already Mooney season.
It was Mooney season last year. Anthony Miller's not good at football.
No. And like Anthony Miller is like Darnell Mooney is what you were hoping Anthony Miller was going to be.
Absolutely.
And Darnell Mooney's going to be that, and he's going to be it this year and next year. But like a lot of these guys, I mean, it's even with like Najee, like just people need to like temper expectations a little bit of what's going to happen. Like Darnell's not that alpha X receiver. So even with Allen Robinson not there, they're going to bring someone else in. Like Darnell doesn't play that role. It's not going to happen. He's going to be good. He's going to be a great fantasy option. Like you said, you got him the best fantasy options when you got him for cheap or free or in the 4th round of a rookie draft, and then now he's balling out. So yeah, it's people get crazy. It's so funny. It's a funny time of year, especially on Twitter. It's a long off season like it is every single year. It's a long off season. There's a lot of takes and it cracks me up because I was talking to Chalk about this, right? It cracks me up because a lot of these people get really, really like Twitter happy in the off season, right? They have a lot of takes, put a lot of stuff out there. Some of these people don't even make it to the season. They get burnt out or something happens. They don't even make it like to the season to see some of these takes actually come to fruition. And then that's not even the season, like you got to make it through the season. People need to like pace themselves and like get ready because it's a grind when we get to the season. We're not even there yet. And people are already burning out and getting kicked off of Twitter.
Ooh, too soon.
Just saying.
Anyway, the Big 12, these 3 teams at the bottom aren't all that great. Both the teams in Kansas and Kansas State, and then lumped in with them will be Baylor this year. None of them particularly good. Kansas State has Deuce Vaughn, who's pretty quick, pretty shifty, small, kind of like the Darnell Mooney of running backs.
Mm-hmm. Is there any relation to Keyshawn Vaughn? Do we know that or no?
I don't think so, but I don't know.
Probably more of a relation to like Deuce Staley or something, or Deuce McAllister.
Probably not either. He'll be interesting for college fantasy. Skylar Thompson, their quarterback, will probably also be interesting as he likes to run the ball a lot. So you'll get some rushing upside, but not much in the passing game because they don't have any wide receivers who are worth a crap. Kansas, probably the worst team in the Power 5 last year, maybe the worst team in the FBS. But they fired their coach. They brought in Lance Leipold from Buffalo, who obviously did a great job with Jared Patterson last year.
Yep.
And they brought in a freshman running back by the name of Devin Neal, who a lot of people in the Devin community are really high on right now. I think Alfred Fernandez was the first guy I heard pound the table for him. Okay. The entire Campus to Canton staff is on him now. Apparently, I was told that they interviewed one of the 24/7 scouts on one of their shows, and he said that Devin Neal just slipped through the cracks and should have been a higher rated recruit on 24/7 than he actually was. Yeah. But he's still the highest rated recruit in the Kansas recruiting class, if you want to know how bad Kansas is. Yes, a 3-star running back.
Oh, wow. That's not good.
Yeah. But Neal is someone to watch. The rest of the team is not. So maybe just turn off the Kansas games next year.
just show me clips of Neal. That's all I need. I don't need anything else.
I'm not even sure they'll be on national television, so no need to worry.
So bad. It's okay. And They're basketball school. It's all good.
Yeah. In the group of 5, we have well, obviously, I forgot to transition, but we finished the Big 12 there. We'll skip to the group of 5, these teams that aren't in a big conference, but still have some players that we like. The first of which is Texas San Antonio, or UTSA. as I like to call them. They have Sincere McCormick as their running back, who has been a statistical beast recently.
Yeah, he's jumping up draft boards, rankings. He's starting to get a lot more love. I've been hearing about him even before I started doing Devi, and yeah, that's just a name that I've definitely had on the watch list because you kind of just hear rumblings, because it's a small school, but yeah, I'm excited to see this guy play. And that's the other thing too, right? Like now that we're like, I know a lot more of these players, and I've like been exposed to them because of fantasy leagues. Like I'm really excited for this college football season. I mean, I normally am, I like watching college football, especially when I was in college. I was like way into college football because I feel like those were like my peers then, and now, the NFL is more of my peers, just on like not really age, but closer. But like, because fantasy makes you like a lot more excited to watch games. And now we're playing Devi and college redraft. It's like, okay, I'm like really excited to see how some of these guys are going to turn out now that I know, who to watch. And so that's one thing I'm excited about. That's, a new wrinkle to the game that after playing, Dynasty for so long, to like switch it up, and get back into college is pretty sweet. But yeah, 249 rushing yards, 249 carries, 1,400 rushing yards, and 11 touchdowns last year. Wow. Yeah, almost 1,000 yards his freshman year and 8 touchdowns. God, this guy's phenomenal.
Yeah.
5'9", 205. Not too bad. A little short, but not
that's
not
built
far
though.
off. Yeah,
we want to see 205.
Right. Yeah, if you're like 5'10", 210, like that's kind of ideal. Anywhere around that range. So yeah, he's definitely gonna check some boxes. But I just curious, because it's a small school, how his draft capital will be.
Yeah, but like we saw guys like Aaron Jones come out of UTEP. He's a 5th round draft pick, but he still eventually took over that backfield at Green Bay.
Hey, can I ask you a strategy question? So for guys like this, for Sincere, does he hold more weight? I guess, okay, so going back, guys like Sincere that like may not be such a lock for the NFL, does he hold more weight in like a college redraft league, or even just, I don't know, a Devi league as opposed to a campus to Canton league? Or maybe not a Devi league, but more of a campus Canton league as opposed to a Devi league, because Devi, right, you're not playing these guys in college, you're just drafting them and holding them, right, until you get to the NFL. So would he hold more weight in the format that you're actually playing college football fantasy with these guys?
Absolutely. I mean, definitely. Like, especially if you're playing in a league where it's 50-50 pot for the campus side and the Canton side, which not all leagues are, but some are, then you want to win the campus side just as much as you want to win the Canton side. So I like, especially once you get past the top guys, like obviously your first round pick, you want it to be like a Breece Hall or a Bijan Robinson and not a Sincere McCormick.
Yeah.
But once you get past those guys who are like, oh, we know this guy's going to the NFL. He's just that good.
Yeah.
Then that's where I want to target those guys because once you get past those guys, I don't know if any of those guys are going to the NFL, but I know they're going to produce in college.
Right. And so does Sincere meet that threshold for you for do you think he'll actually produce in NFL, or are you just kind of riding that wave in college and that's it?
He's one of those tough ones where it's like, he's going to produce, but maybe. Yeah. It just depends on if somebody sees him.
Well, and this always, and like Myles Gaskin is always the guy that I'm always point to and always like hang my hat on as like, a guy that I called out early, and without watching Sincere's tape, but just looking at like his stats, his size, he kind of falls into the similar type of similar type of player, at least that Myles was, again, without really looking at his tape and actually watching his game, but just seeing like, the stats on paper, the production similar, the size is similar, but and the road to the NFL might be similar too, right? Where he does get a shot, but he's buried for at least his first year until he works his way up the depth chart.
I kind of hope he's not in the same position as Gaskin, because Gaskin was on a good team, was on Washington. They played in the playoff, and was their rushing leader and still a 7th round draft pick.
Right. So okay. So you want to be even a little bit better than that situation. Well, and that's why I saw that that the guy was good, but then the draft happened and he fell where he fell, and that's why I was like, well, shit, this guy's good and he has all those measurables of his production. He just fell to the 7th round, and yeah, that team was phenomenal. I actually got to see him play in the Rose Bowl against Stanford, against Ohio State. And seeing him live, like, the guy was phenomenal. So I guess it's you put a good point. UTSA is a lot smaller school on a much smaller stage than Washington, but that's been the hard part for me with these Debbie drafts and Campus Can stuff is figuring out, getting my strategy down, figuring out not just who I want to target, but when you want to target certain guys in drafts, what guys are going to, not just do well for you for the college side, but also when they get over to the NFL side, and trying to get that, the strategy beyond the basics down, and figure out, even trades are something I haven't fully got into because I'm still trying to figure out where the value lies in those trades.
Yeah. And similarly with you to Gaskin, I'm a big Washington State fan. So I saw him in the Apple Cup 3 straight years just absolutely rip us to shreds.
Yeah.
So I was excited about him. Obviously, I wasn't following near as close as I am now. So I thought he would get drafted earlier.
Right. Yeah, I was hoping for him. I that's size sometimes, and even though it is Washington, well, and even because it's Washington, sometimes those Pac-12 running backs just don't get the same amount of respect or the weight of their conference, is less than Big 10, Big 12, ACC, stuff like that.
Yeah, and we'll get to those Pac-12 guys pretty soon here, but we'll get through these other Group of 5 teams really quick. Obviously, BYU had Zach Wilson last year, just an incredible talent, led them to a great season, but they lost him to the NFL. He's on the Jets now. They had an outstanding offensive line, but they lost a lot of them to the NFL. Brady Christensen went 2nd or 3rd round to the Panthers. Chandon Herring's on the Titans now. But they brought back a couple of guys who saw a big bump in production with Zach Wilson as their quarterback. One of those is Tyler Algier, their running back. Another one is their tight end, Isaac Rex. And then they brought in a transfer wide receiver from Washington, Puka Nakua?
Nakua? Puka Nakua, yeah. I think he's Hawaiian or Tongan or something. Yeah, I like this guy.
Yeah, he was the leading wide receiver on Washington last year.
Yeah.
Only transferred out to be closer to his family.
Okay.
So definitely someone worth watching, along with the rest of that BYU team.
He did really good in high school too. I forgot, he was number 1 in Utah or something, and I think he was also in the there was the high school Polynesian Bowl or All-American or something. Yeah. So because I'm Samoan, I keep tabs on all the Polynesians that are doing anything. So, and then again, when you're going through a draft and you don't know anybody, or you're at the stage rounds 20 or something, you're just I don't know who any of these people are. I'm just adding somebody. I'm literally just looking who has a Polynesian last name because you're going on the team. We're just gonna root for you. I'm just gonna add you to the team. Because when you don't have much of a strategy, when you're starting, you got to have something. So,
you tweeted out that watch list for the best Polynesian in college football.
That's right.
I didn't realize that Zach Wilson qualified and won last year.
Zach Wilson was on that? No, he wasn't.
I could have sworn that's what he said. Who won last year?
No.
What was the award's name? Polynesian
was it the
football.
Was it the Polynesian Bowl or was it the Polynesian Hall of Fame? Polynesian Football Hall of Fame? No, that's for
the year.
I need to look at what I put.
It's the Polynesian Football Hall of Fame, yes.
Yeah, there's no way Zach Wilson won that last year. Please tell me he did. That's awesome.
Oh, here's the article that you tweeted out. Former Brigham Young University, current New York Jets quarterback Zach Capono-Wilson received the award in 2020.
Zach Capono-Wilson?
Yeah.
That's my dog. That's my favorite player now. What is this guy? Zach Wilson? What is his ethnicity? I need to know this right now. How did I also not know this until I came on your show? He's a Hawaiian and a Hufanga of Wilson's of Hawaiian ancestry and Hufanga of Samoan ancestry. Oh no, that's two different people. What the fuck? That's wild, dude.
Yeah.
Zach Capona Wilson. Yeah, and the USC safety that won it. So he shared the award with the USC safety.
Yeah, I think that they name an offensive and defensive player every year.
But what the fuck? He's Hawaiian? No way.
I didn't realize it either until you tweeted out that article.
Yeah, I had. Well, so there's always people like. I didn't know Kendrick Bourne was half Samoan. No idea. So there's always guys like that. DeForest Buckner, I didn't know that he was half Samoan. Like, there's a bunch of people out there that you have like no idea, like if they don't have Samoan last names or something. But the Zach Wilson one, that's tripping me out, man. I would have been on Zach Wilson from the beginning. I would have been the biggest Zach Wilson truther from the beginning if I would have known that.
You got a long way to go in just the undroppables. You got to beat me and Mark.
I know. You guys love him. So like that, but I would have called dibs easily if I would have known that. I'd be like, nah, like I got ethnicity on this guy. Like, we're from the same people. We're from the same.
Is that what you're gonna do with DJU next year?
100%. That's my cousin, dude. Like 100%. So what is it? Okay, so my second cousin, her son, she married Oyanga Lele. So she married DJ's like second uncle or something. Like she married like DJ's dad's cousin or something. So like we're loosely related through marriage. So we're like fifth cousins or some shit. But if anyone asks, that's like my brother. We like grew up together. We hang out all the time. We're like best buds. I know his dad, Big Dave. We like, yeah. I'm just kidding. I'm just like, I know that's his dad. No, okay. No, that's totally his dad. Like I know who, like of his family. I just like never fucking met him. But the part about how we're actually related, that's completely true. 100% true. But there's like it's not really a relation. Like I don't know him or I've ever talked to him or anything. But my nephew, who's a senior at Modern Day right now, he's talked to him because that's his last name. They have the same last name and all that. But like, yeah. So I made up that part about us hanging out. Like we're not really best friends. Really dope. I've talked to his uncle Mao. His uncle Mao Young Lele. He's really active on Twitter. I've chatted with him before on Twitter, but that's it. You know, I'm not gonna front like that. I really know these people. But if people ask, yeah, that's yeah. We're like this, man. We're fucking tight. Just so you know. Anyway,
I don't think we have any more Polynesians to talk about in the group of five. So we'll fly through these next three teams. We got Nevada, Carson Strong, their quarterback. A lot of guys really like him. Romeo Dubs, Elijah Cooks, Torrey Horton, Toa Taua, all catching passes from him.
Toa Taua. Hey, Toa Taua is rad. Toa Taua. See, you fucked up. We do have another Samoan. Toa Taua is fucking good. I have him on one of my leagues. Yeah, he's a little stocky fucker, but he's going to be solid. Definitely worth. What do I have him? He has a decent projection right now. I like just added them up.
He's a good receiver.
Yeah, he can catch too. I have him here somewhere. Where the fuck did I put him? Oh yeah, Toa Taua. Yeah, because I was targeting that name because my youngest son's first name is Toa, so I was like, oh, I'm definitely who's this guy. But yeah, he's a senior, right? So I mean, I think he'd still be solid, and I think if you're in a college redraft league, I think he's definitely worth a late round pick. He's gonna get the carries. I mean, I don't know if these are projected or are these from last year. I think they're projected. They have them projected for like 800 something yards on Fantrax.
I think he'll be really good, but I think most of his production is going to be more of a PPR guy, as Nevada loves to toss the ball around.
Yeah,
rather than run it.
Right. Yeah. The like creators of the shotgun or the pistol offense there with Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah. And then the last couple of teams we've got out here are SMU, who has the freshman quarterback Preston Stone, who was a really big name in the recruiting cycle, but we thought he might go to Texas. He had offers from all kinds of great schools. Ended up at SMU. So Preston Stone, somebody to watch.
Yeah. Their wide
I think,
receivers are good too.
yeah,
Danny
absolutely.
Gray. Danny Gray, I picked him up as my wide receiver one in this college redraft league because we were only drafting Pac-12 and AAC and SMU was in there somewhere. But Danny Gray, I had to pick Danny Gray as my wide receiver one because I went running back heavy. And they didn't really know much, but he's a burner. He's a little shorter guy. Not like
Reggie Roberson.
Yeah, both of them are pretty good. So I think they're still running that run and shoot offense.
Probably.
Yeah, I think so. Because I think when I asked Thor Nystrom about him, he liked Danny Gray a lot. He liked that offense a lot. So high volume, high passing offense. They may not be great for NFL, but they'll be pretty good this year.
Yeah. And then the last team to watch in the group of 5 out west is San Jose State. The Spartans in 2018 won just one game, went 1-11. But last year in 2020, they improved to 7-1. And they have quarterback Nick Starkel, who's been on about 4 teams in 6 years now, taking his 3rd victory lap, just really enjoying the college life. So
I was gonna go play a couple of different programs. And
if he makes it to the NFL, he might be as old as Brandon Whedon.
Yeah, perfect. It's off topic, but just you talking about him going to so many schools. Isn't like that going on with like Christian McCaffrey's brother right now too? Like he's at like his 3rd school or something in 4 years.
Maybe. Aren't there 2 brothers? Like one of them was in the XFL recently, I think.
Oh, I don't know. I just heard my friends talking about it. They coach high school football, so they're still like super plugged in. Oh, so is it Max? There's Max, Dylan.
No, Max is the one who played in the XFL.
Okay, so it'll be Dylan or Luke.
Oh, it's Luke.
Yeah, there it is. Luke has found his 3rd college football team in the last 6 months.
He's on Rice. 6 months?
That's what the headline says. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He left Nebraska. That's right. They knew about it because they're Nebraska fans, and he left Nebraska.
Oh, that's just bad.
Yeah, that's right. And then he went to Rice. Well, where was he at before? Was it Stanford?
Louisville,
and then he went to Nebraska, and now he's at Rice. Not a good look, buddy.
No, running from competition, maybe not the best idea.
Well, and then like selling at Rice too, right? Like, great. I think the best thing I heard out of Rice was like that guy a couple years ago who was like 5'3" or something that was playing running back there. That's like the last like thing I heard about Rice football. I don't know about you. Remember that guy? He was like short. He was like this big. He was like super small. No? Oh, I'm gonna send it to you on Twitter. Dude was little. He was like literally like he could run on my desk right here. Like he was super small. I swear. I wish I could find it right now. I wish like we had a producer that was here like in the background, like pull that shit up right now. Yeah, I'm gonna send it to you. That shit was funny. That's literally the last thing I heard about Rice. Like I don't know anything else about the Owls from Rice. Like I don't know. Rutgers, anything. Tell me another school. I could probably tell you something. Like Rice, that's all I got. Is that shirt?
4'9".
Told you. Fucking told you. You see it? You see the picture? Put that shit on the screen. It's so small. He's so little. What was that? It was like 3 years ago or something. I was dying when I saw that.
Is it share? Oh, there it is.
Yeah, share your screen. Yeah. Well, the one right there. The one. How about the one with number? Was it 28 or something? Like going to tackle him or something? Oh my god, that's so small. Yeah, that one. Yeah, look at that fucking guy.
4'9" walk-on running back.
4'9". That's literally the last thing, like you said, Rice football. Tell me the last thing you remember about Rice football. That's the first thing that pops in my head. Look at that guy. Look how fucking little he is. It's amazing. Oh man. Well, yeah. See, so yeah,
You learn something new every day.
so people that were Polynesian, you had no idea. Fucking Zach Wilson, and the shortest guy to ever play college football. There you go. You're welcome.
And the Pac-12.
And then the Pac-12. And then let's get to something I actually fucking know. The Pac-12.
Yeah, something that doesn't actually matter. The Pac-12.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's true. It is true.
But yeah, the highest ranked team in the AP poll for the Pac-12 is USC at 15. So not looking great for them. What do you think? I mean, you're a USC guy, so you go ahead and introduce your team.
I love USC. USC is fantastic. USC runs LA. No, I think I think with Keaton Slovis coming back, I think it's solid. Drake London coming back, as his best target. I had really high hopes for Brew McCoy again as a homer pick, but even though he went to my high school, and it is a homer pick, I really liked his talent. But he keeps fucking up, and so he's like off the team or something. So, it is what it is. But the newest freshman to join, Kyron Ware Hudson, I always forget which way he puts it. Freshman coming out of USC, out of Mater Dei to USC, I think is going to surprise a lot of people. I don't know that many people that have him on their radar, but I think if he gets at least 50 targets this year, like he could really light it up and do something. It's a lot of targets, but I think he's going to need a little bit of volume to really jump onto the scene a little bit, especially competing with Drake London and I forget the name of the rest of their wide receivers, but I know they're wide receivers. They
have another freshman that a lot of guys at C2C really like, Michael Jackson.
Yeah, that guy's great. And I know there's someone else too that's returning. But so they have talent, right? So he's going to need a little bit of volume to really stand out. I'm blanking on the running backs
Gary
right
Bryant.
now. Thank
Gary
you.
Bryant Jr.
And even the Polynesian guy, Vavai Maliapai, is back, I think.
And the running back is Keontae Ingram.
Yes, thank you, Keontae, dude. So they have a lot of guys that are on people's radars, but I think they just need a really good year this year. I think a full season will really help. Some of the guys on their defense are coming back. Hopefully healthy. Their running back. It's I'm forgetting his name. Another Samoan guy. He's been hurt, but he's finally coming back. And then overall, I think they're going to do really well in the Pac-12. And that might not be seeing a lot, like you said, because of where they're the highest ranked team. So the rest of the the projected outcome for the rest of the conference isn't great. But I think there's always going to be a lot of competition there, especially to Washington, Stanford, Arizona State. I think those are definitely give them some of their biggest competition this year. And like any really tough conference that's been around a long time, like I think a lot of these teams, like any team can beat any team on any given Saturday, with the Pac-12. And I think that's the same with any other conferences in the NFL, these teams that really know each other. And that's some of the knock on the Pac-12 is like sometimes when USC has been at its greatest, they'll get knocked off by Stanford or Oregon or somebody, because these teams know each other so well and they are good, even if they're not as high heralded teams as some of these SCE teams, or stacked with a lot of talent. But as much as I like USC, just as that's like my team that I root for the most, Arizona State is probably a homer for me because my wife did her undergrad there, and I've always watched a lot of their games and had some family members that went to school there, and I really like their quarterback Jaden Daniels, and their running backs, and this guy you have mentioned here, LV Bunkley Shelton, like that's another guy, like he's super small, but I reached out to Cole Topham at Ham Analysis on Twitter. If you guys don't follow Cole, you really, really need to. first off, he's great. His analysis is fantastic. His great fantasy football analysis. But the kid's like at Arizona State right now. Like he's in college at in Tempe, Arizona, covering the team there live. So he's at a lot of the practices. He'll be at all the games. So like, reach out to that guy and ask him questions about some of these players because he's getting firsthand analysis on these guys. So that's probably my two favorite teams in the Pac-12 usually, and then Oregon's always up there as well. But for me, I've always been a USC homer, being a SoCal guy my whole life.
Yeah, I think Jaden Daniels is great. I've watched him a lot. The only knock I can think of is that he's tiny, thin. He's a stick.
Yeah.
But other than that, he's a great quarterback.
Yeah.
And then obviously Arizona State has a couple of running backs that are really good. Rashad White and Chip Trayanum.
Yeah, what's up with that? Chips is his nickname, right? Because I had
his real name
Diamante.
is Diamante. Yeah.
Yeah. I like Diamante. His mama call him Diamante. I'm gonna call him Diamante. I'm just, that's personally what I'm gonna be with him.
I like Chip because it's easier to pronounce.
Yeah, I like that guy. There's another. They have a freshman too. That's like pretty legit. A high heralded guy.
Daniel Ngata.
Yes. Yeah. Ngata, Nata. I don't know if it's Nata, because if he is, that's Polynesian. I'm all for it. I told you, I'm going to pick all the poly players. But yeah, he was, I don't know why, like someone was talking about him. I forgot who exactly it was, but yeah, he did get some playing time last year. So I think they got some skills. They got some guys there. They have some depth. I think they could be really good. Especially, the guy's skinny, the quarterback, he's skinny, but if you could put some weight on him, I think, he has the skills to be not, really good for the NFL. Also, I really like him as a campus guy.
He's my QB5 for Devi.
Oh, nice. Do you, where is he above Keenan Slovis?
Yes.
Yeah, I've been seeing that a lot. Yeah.
I think I need to move Slovis down even more, honestly. It's just not looking good.
Yeah. What do you not like him? Just curious.
It's just like the arm strength isn't there like you want to see. Mm-hmm. He's still getting challenged as starter from Jackson Dart, which is concerning. Obviously, USC actually did say that they are going to start Slovis recently, but the fact that Slovis is their incumbent starter for 2 years and they ran JT Daniels out of town for him.
Basically, yeah.
And yet they're still not sure they want to start him is a little concerning.
Yeah. So I'll not lie. Homer, JT Daniels also went to my high school, so I was high on him, and was trying to argue with people at times that they should have stuck with Daniels and knock on with Slovis. Even though Slovis did step in his freshman year and did really well, I thought they should have let JT get his spot back, or at least lose it. And I guess in their minds, Slovis did beat him out, and so I wasn't super high on Slovis to begin with, but other people that I trust on Twitter, were really high on Slovis, making a good case for him. And then I thought he kind of replicated what was last year. But I see what you're saying, and that is kind of concerning if, you're the incumbent and you just don't automatically have the job, especially when you're already being talked about as not a high NFL draft pick, but definitely someone that could make it into the NFL.
Yeah. And then moving on, the other team to watch seemingly in the Pac-12 is Washington. Consistently good out there. Obviously, though, Chris Peterson, their former head coach, retired a couple of years ago. So they have a new head coach in Jimmy Lake, who was one of their assistants formerly. And their quarterback situation, not interesting. Or I guess it is interesting, just not good.
I think it has potential to be good.
Yeah, they brought in Sam Heward from as a freshman. Obviously, his dad played in the NFL, Brock Heward.
Yep.
His uncle was a really good football player. I think his cousin played and as an FBS quarterback. So definitely bloodlines with Heward.
Yes.
And Alfred, when I talked to him about freshmen, said Heward was the safest of the freshman class. Obviously,
Okay.
that was before Ewers.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's just a very steady prospect. He doesn't have that Konami code type of upside we like to see, but he's going to sit back in the pocket. He'll usually make the right decision, and he has a pretty solid arm.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a freshman, not named starter yet. Going to have to watch for him throughout the season if they're not winning games.
Right.
But they do have plenty of tools to win games. Obviously, they always have a strong defense. They have a great tight end in Cade Otton. Even with Nakua leaving for BYU, they still have another. Actually, they did have another wide receiver in Jalen McMillan, but I believe he is injured now and possibly out for the season.
Oh, damn.
So,
that's right.
Things change. Things change between when I write these things and when I record.
Real fast. Well, did you see my tweet today wrote a freaking article about James Robinson and Travis Etienne? It's like going to go out tomorrow, and freaking Etienne's out. I'm like, awesome. And the last article before that was Michael Thomas, and then Michael Thomas went out the day before. I was like, awesome. Stop just fucking writing about players now.
Tell me who you're writing about next so I can get rid of them.
Dude, I was like, yeah, tell me who you want. And the responses I got were hilarious. I mean, when someone's like, oh, write about my ex-girlfriend. I was like, okay, that's a good one. Someone said write about the Taliban. I was like, oh, that's topical. I like that. Yeah, I had a good time with that one. I was laughing. There's always some good replies to that tweet. One name I just want to throw out there for Washington. I don't get to do this too often. Another Polynesian player. Of course, I know this guy. Jabez Tene. He's a freshman coming in, 4-star wide receiver from Kennedy Catholic. Was actually catching passes from Sam Heward in high school. So they went to the same high school. So he already kind of has that rapport. I'm not saying he's just going to start and jump in right away, but if guys like
he'll have plenty of opportunity now.
Yeah, exactly. If he's hurt, then yeah, they're going to start, rotating some of these freshmen in. You may not see some of these guys get redshirted, like they might normally do their freshman year. And so, yeah, I just want to throw that out there. Jabez Tene, even if it's not next year or this year coming up, name maybe for the next couple of years, definitely when you're doing your supplemental drafts next year.
Absolutely. And then back into the Pac-12 South, we have Utah, consistently good with Kyle Whittingham as their head coach. They're starting the Baylor transfer, Charlie Brewer, officially as of yesterday.
It's official now?
Yeah, he's an interesting guy.
I just drafted him. I just drafted him in my that 50-team redraft league. Oh, I'm so happy.
Yeah.
And I drafted him knowing that they weren't decided yet. I mean, he's not my first. He's my QB2, but still.
He's had a strong career at Baylor back when Matt Rule was there.
And he runs too, right? I think I saw him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a pretty good rusher, but things went south when Rule left and they brought in a new head coach. Just not the same, but hopefully Whittingham's offense will fit Brewer a little better. And Utah always has guys around. They have a pretty good tight end, if I remember correctly, in Brant Kuthi, who was another guy that we thought would come out last year, but pretty solid tight end who will catch passes and blocks well.
Do you have their running back on here?
The other running back for Utah?
Yeah. I just dropped him too. That's why I know him.
Who is it? You tell me.
Micah Bernard.
Oh, yeah.
And I definitely found some video of him too. And he, not a lot. But yeah, he was a freshman last year. Played well, runs hard. Kind of get some Zach Moss vibes from him a little bit. But he's going to get the ball. He's actually, why does it say he's a freshman? Maybe he's been there since 2019. So he didn't really play in 2019 and maybe this is still updating. He's going to be a redshirt sophomore or something. But played in 5 games last year. Didn't get a ton of yards and carries, but I'm pretty sure he's the starter going into this season.
Well, they did bring in a transfer from LSU and Chris Curry, but Curry was pretty darn bad at LSU last year. So
yeah, so I think he has a shot of being at least startable for college redraft or for the campus side of C2C.
Yeah, and we'll go back north. Oregon, we'll hit them really quick. Obviously, CJ Verdell, a running back who's going to be one of those older guys who we thought would declare but didn't. Obviously, he's still going to be productive. They have a freshman wide receiver, Troy Franklin, who was one of the top recruits in the class. Definitely someone to watch. And they also brought in one of the better quarterbacks in Ty Thompson. But they still haven't figured out their quarterback situation, if I remember correctly. But it does seem to be down to Ty Thompson and Anthony Brown, who is their incumbent starter. And then they have a guy.
You talk about Jay
Butterfield?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he's out of it.
Is he out of it?
I'm pretty sure he's out of it. I think so.
Damn.
I was gonna say actually that they have a guy that you tweeted about recently, in Sean Dollars.
Yes. The other homer pick, modern day. I know these guys. I might not know for the best reason, but I know
There's second string running back.
Well, he's hurt. He's hurt now. And so who was I gonna say? It was did you already mention Travis Dye?
No.
I think is it Travis Dye? It was CJ Verdell and someone else that was getting love.
Yeah, I think it's Dye.
Yeah. But yeah, Sean Dollars, he's good. He just got hurt. So I was really hoping that would be him and CJ splitting time this year. But I know Travis Dye was also getting some love. I can't remember. I'm trying to look up so they're both. That's right. That's what I was looking at. They're both on the preseason watch list for the Doak Walker Award. Both CJ Verdell and Travis Dye. So it was already looking like not great for Sean Dollars. I did draft Sean Dollars in one of my leagues just because like I'm gonna draft guys I know, and even if they don't do anything, I'm still gonna draft them. But both those guys, are both in the watch list for top running back. So I think there could be some firepower there, especially if they get them both on the field at the same time. And that was interesting. Yeah, I was kind of hoping for Butterfield. I mean, maybe it's a next year kind of thing, but that guy brings like some real interesting traits to the game, and one of those phenomenal quarterbacks.
Butterfield's going to end up as the odd man out and end up having to transfer just because of Ty Thompson.
Yeah, and it happens sometimes, But I'm really excited to see on the opposite side of the ball, Penei Sewell's brother. Starting at the Mike linebacker, Mace Funa, who also went to Modern Day. Was that Noah Sewell?
Noah.
What did I say? Yeah,
you
Noah
just said
Sewell.
his brother.
Oh, yeah. And then Mace Funa is also from Modern Day, and that guy's a phenomenal outside linebacker. And so there's a couple of guys I'm excited about just because I've seen them play since their high school days.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see them.
And obviously, we'd be remiss talking about the Oregon defense without Kayvon Thibodeau, who is looking like a top 5 draft pick in next year's class if it were to happen today.
Yeah, so it's like that
he's
team,
getting that Nike money too.
Oh yeah, yep, yeah. So that team could be really sneaky good. I think if the wide receivers can really step up, and kind of like make a name for themselves. With the quarterback situation, a good, decent offensive line, a really good defense, and a really good running back situation. Yeah, it could be really good for them, taking the Pac-12 North.
Yeah. And then in the Pac-12 North also is Washington State, who is my favorite team personally in the Pac-12.
Is it?
And and they got a quarterback who's Polynesian as well, in Jaden DeLora from Hawaii.
Yep.
I think he's an incredible talent. He is one of those guys who's being challenged for the starting gig, but I think that's partly due to him having a DUI earlier in the offseason and also not being of age, if I remember correctly.
Oh,
so
I'll do it.
That's a little concerning, but also par for the course for Washington State.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's looking like it's down to a 2-horse race between him and Tennessee transfer Jarrett Garantano. I think Jarrett Garantano is one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever watched play football. So I think Jaden DeLora is going to win the starting job quite easily because Jarrett Garantano throws interceptions.
How do you feel about a Borghi coming back this year?
Max Borghi. Don't get me started on Max Borghi because everybody is wanting to say we were wrong about Max Borghi. I'm not ready to say I was wrong. I think Max Borghi is still incredibly good. I think Max Borghi.
Fantastic. Yeah.
I want to put him in my top 5 for next year.
Do it.
But I feel wrong.
Why? Because he was hurt?
Because everybody's going to disagree with me.
but also why? Because he was hurt? That's the only thing. But until he got hurt, his stock was through the roof, I think
the injury is being a little overlooked.
Yeah. I mean, the guy's got mad skills.
And then you took him in UND-CTC, and I got all pissed off because
I'll trade him, bro. I'll trade anybody. That'd be the right price. Now that I know you like him. Price is through the roof now.
No.
But I mean, I besides, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're just looking at his game, yeah, I get that he got hurt, but everything else is still there. He was still phenomenal.
And I think part of it was just
CMC, which is kind of crazy, but I think
part of it was that CMC comp that has just got people too excited.
Yeah.
And I think it only happened because he's a white running back who catches the ball.
And he's fast. And
I don't think he's that fast. I think the speed is kind of what's lacking in his game. He's a strong runner, obviously has hands, played in Mike Leach's offense, and they just threw it to him all the freaking time.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how he fits in Rolovich's offense, though, because we didn't really get to see it last year because of the injury. And then the only other guy that's probably...
Sorry, you talked about Washington. Sean Mcgrew is another guy that I had for Washington. He's their running back. A little bit of a smaller guy, but runs really hard too. And so
sounds like Myles Gaskin.
Yeah, exactly. I took a later, a later round pick on him. I don't know how late. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12 or something, round 13, a little bit later. So I think he has some potential there to, not put up a lot of points, but again, when you're looking at your flex player later round guys, you just want someone that you can plug and play essentially. And so I think him and Micah Bernard from Utah can maybe put up kind of similar numbers.
Yeah. And what I was going to say about Washington State was one other guy that I think is worth watching is Travell Harris, their slot wide receiver. Obviously, in the past, in Nick Rolovich's offense at Hawaii, the slot wide receiver has been the main beneficiary of their passing offense.
Yeah.
And Washington State has had a couple of guys make the NFL late, Desmond Patton, Aesop Winston Jr., River Craycraft, who kind of stick on rosters even though they didn't get drafted. So I think Travell Harris is somebody to watch for in the future who will probably get on an NFL team, maybe not actually play, but he also will be very good for college fantasy football.
Yeah.
And then to round us out in the Pac-12, the last few teams we got are UCLA, who has Dorian Thompson-Robinson as their quarterback, who's had a pretty good career so far. Not too interesting outside of that. And then Arizona.
Who's he throwing to?
Yeah. Well, Greg Dulcich, who was a no-star recruit as a tight end and was also one of the best statistical leaders at the tight end position last year.
You have to not check so many boxes that be a zero star recruit. That's wild.
Yeah.
I watched something and they were talking about how they were recruited and what makes 3, 4, 5-star recruits, and it's size and there's other factors, but you basically had no size, no speed, no one was high on you. No one cared. Like, you have to be so bad, or at least like the perception, you have to be so bad to have 0 stars. That's wild.
Yeah, but he's 6'4", 215. Obviously can catch the ball. Got a little
Skinny,
speed
though.
behind him. Yeah, a little skinny for a tight end, but he still has some time. He's still a junior, so he could take a couple of years to get a little bigger before he goes out to the NFL. And then the last 4 teams: Arizona, Colorado, Oregon State, Stanford.
Had a lot of hope for Laviska Chenault's brother, Levante, at Colorado, but that guy's screwing shit up too. And I don't know exactly. I don't know if it was a DUI. It was like something. Like he did something. Like freaking idiot, So yeah, with Colorado, I have no idea who else is worth looking at.
Well, Jarek Broussard is a good college producer, but probably undersized for the NFL game.
Okay.
And then
Stanford has a couple of decent wide receivers. Like they're big. Bryson Tremaine. He's like 6'4" or something, 6'5". He reminds me of like Mike Evans' size. And then I forgot who the other guy is.
They have Austin Jones at running back, who a lot of people like.
Yeah, Austin Jones is good. He have a freshman receiver that's like the same size already too. So they just have like 2 big ass outside receivers and a good running game. And so you're gonna see like a lot of 12 personnel sets, and just like, or even 22, with one receiver out there. Them just like running the rock up the middle like they normally do.
Yeah, the issue with Stanford is they just were okay last year, and then they graduated Simi Fehoko and Davis Mills.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think their Vegas over under on wins is like 4. So
not good.
Not looking good.
John Humphreys is the other wide receiver there.
And then
big.
Yeah. The only other guy I can think of out of those 4 teams from a Devy perspective is a guy at Oregon State who plays quarterback named Sam Vidlak. He's a freshman. He forced himself into the competition as a freshman, which is very interesting.
There you go.
Honestly, though, probably won't start. That'll probably be Tristan Gebbia starting for them. But I like Vidlak in the future. He's got a strong arm. He seems to just throw it straight to where it needs to be, drops it in there on the long pass, gets the loft you want to see, doesn't throw those deep bombs on a rope like some quarterbacks who have to compensate for their arm do. So he's definitely somebody I want to watch in the future.
One guy I have just like, I think it was like my last pick for Arizona, tight end Bryce Wolma. If you need someone like super late, he's a starter. Don't think expecting a lot. It's just a guy that we're going to talk about Arizona. That's a guy that I know some people have on their rosters.
And that'll do it for the Pac-12 and for the entire west side of the NCAA. And then I have a couple of questions that I've just asked everybody so far. Number 1, who's going to win the college football playoff?
Oh gosh. The whole thing?
Yeah, the whole shebang.
The whole shebang. I don't know. Clemson, just going to go DJU, wins 3 national championships and 2 Heisman trophies in his college career. Just hot take. It's going to happen. I don't know. I love the guy. I think he's going to set the world on fire. I think he's like Vince Young and Cam Newton and those kind of like, I'm big, I can run, and I can throw a mean ball. I'm not going to say Jamarcus Russell vibes at all, but like he's not that, he's not just a big guy with a big arm. He can do a lot more. And so, yeah, I'm just going to give it to Clemson again. Because at this point, I don't even know who's going to win the NFL. I don't even know, like, I can't tell you my favorites right now. I can't tell you who's not. It's just like, I don't know. I'm going into this season right now, and I think it's just like we're so close that I just have like like, stars in my eyes. Like, everyone's great. Everyone has so much potential to be so good. I don't want to think about anyone sucking yet or getting hurt or being gone for the whole season. So it's like, at this point, I think anyone really has the potential to be good and to really win. But if I, twist my arm and make me pick someone, it's definitely going to be Clemson. It's definitely not Purdue. I'll tell you that. It's definitely not Purdue.
Clemson is my pick as well.
There it is.
I kind of became a closet Clemson fan.
It's hard not to.
So T. Higgins, Amari Rogers, both from Knoxville, Tennessee. Amari Rogers, a legacy Tennessee recruit. His dad is T. Martin. Who
shit.
led us to the national championship.
I heard that. I love T. Martin. Yeah.
Yeah. And Trevor Lawrence, the biggest Peyton Manning fan there ever was, wanted to come to Tennessee. But
really,
we had a coach by the name of Butch Jones who just didn't give a damn and was an awful recruiter and an awful coach overall. That man sat Alvin Kamara for John Kelly, among other things that coaches shouldn't do.
Not good.
So I just went ahead and rooted for Clemson because they had the guys that I liked.
Yeah, right on. Totally. Oh man, yeah, T. Martin, that guy. What was that? Was that like 97?
No, I think it was 2001.
Yeah.
Because it was Manning in the late 90s, and
that was like 99 or something.
Yeah.
That was a fun year, man. Well, I it's tough. I'd say Clemson is the easy one, and I wish it was a team that I could say like a hot take like Notre Dame or something, just because like a storied, school like that you want to see win, or even USC make a homer take. But those guys over there in South Carolina, like they're really good. They got a great program. They're doing a really good job of getting these kids. You're basically getting NFL kids, in college, and Alabama's fantastic as well. And I got all the love for Bryce Young, and I think they'll have a really good, they just keep reloading too, so they'll have a really good year as well. I just think, personally, DJ is just he's just gonna show people, what he can do, and it's gonna be surprising to some people. And watching that kid for 4 years here locally at St. John Bosco High School, he's just the real deal. He's the truth. He's had poise since his sophomore year. He's ready to go. He's a leader all the way. And his dad, I don't know his dad personally, but I know a lot about his dad. His dad's been grooming both of his kids to be phenomenal athletes and really good people as well. And his younger brother, DJ's younger brother, Matayo is a freaking beast and is gonna. I forgot where he's going. I don't think he's committed yet, but once he goes to the college ranks, it's going to be over.
Is he quarterback as well?
No, he plays defensive end and tight end. And I think he's even bigger than DJ. But yeah, he's just beasting it right now in high school. And their season's starting this week. So it's going to be fun around here to watch them go at it. And then, modern day as well. I think between Max Preps and I forgot the other publication, but they're number 1 and number 2. They go kind of back and forth in the nation right now. So those are like 2 of the local schools. Like Bosco's like 10 minutes from my house, and modern day is probably like 20 or 30. So to just, have 2 schools like that be so close, be so phenomenal is awesome for the whole area over here.
Yeah. Mateo is 6'4", 255, and the number 12 recruit in the nation for next year, for 2023, rather.
Yeah, he's only a junior. Yeah. So, and he's going to probably get bigger and get better. So it's crazy.
Definitely one to watch on the defensive end.
Yep.
Yeah.
I guess that's a new one. Go IDP Debbie. Oh my God. Fucking
no.
So deep.
I saw. Yeah. I'm in this Campus to Canton Discord, and Austin Nace, Debbie Dietz, was showing off his roster, which started like 6 IDP on Campus to Canton League.
It's too much.
Too much. Absolutely.
I would just pick like all Oregon's defense. I'll just take Oregon's defense and worry about the rest later.
That draft has to be like 60 rounds long.
And they're so long already. Like, who needs 35 rounds or whatever it is? I think there was like 40 on the list. And
Ours was 42.
man, so get into these leagues. They're fun, but I'm just going to tell you the draft is long as shit. It takes forever. But it's a good time.
Especially when you get to 16 teams and 14 teams rather than 12.
The 14 teams we got into, like, those are so deep. But it's been a blast. Like I'm having a really good time with it. I'm loving, talking to more guys about Devy, the Devy community, sub community within the fantasy football community is really great. All those guys are awesome. They just love talking football. I mean, yeah, everyone does, right? Everyone loves talking football, but those guys are like, they're so deep in it. And really that's just going to translate all, for Dynasty to have these rookies and know about the rookies ahead of time. That's partly what makes Ray GQ so awesome and good at what he does, of course it's his delivery and his production, but he's hip, to all these guys before anyone else is, or at least, the masses aren't knowing about these guys. So it's fun. And it's been great to dive into it more with you here, Kyle. And I'm excited for your pod, and glad it's been going well. And then the people you've had on the show have been phenomenal. Not including myself, but the other three guys that you've had on here.
I think yours has been the funniest show by far.
Hey, I'm always going to bring some sort of entertainment value. If it's not straight knowledge, it's definitely we're just gonna make you laugh and have a good time. But that's what I'm about. That's why I'm here, and just bring something. Like, if it's not going to be information, it's going to bring something.
Yeah, so what's coming from you soon? Is the 2-on-1 fantasy show coming back soon?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I normally don't do it during the football season because it's like really crazy during the season, and there's so many pods, and we have a lot of good podcasts coming out weekly, and so I just don't really want to compete with the time and effort that it takes to do a weekly pod. So it'll be the second year that I kind of take off during the season and do a lot more writing. I really want to write a lot more. And just kind of get into like just general like football journalism a lot more. So I'm just to try to write more this season, and then get back to like doing TikToks and stuff during the week, helping put out the Undroppables content through other forms of media, especially with video content, short form video content, and then I really want to get back to doing more under reviews on our YouTube channel, taking more deep dives into select players. I had a really good time with that last year, especially, looking at some of the rookies and just guys that were kind of getting faded by some dynasty or fantasy players throughout the year, and, being able to look at it a little more closely, like Jonathan Taylor, and say why you shouldn't be fading him in like week 8 and 10 of last year, and telling you to buy and not sell like some other analysts were doing. I like being able to like get in there and see what other people aren't seeing. So for me, it's back to writing video content. Not really podcasting during the season, but I'm going to do a lot of guest spots and jump on wherever I can with other people. And, you'll definitely see my content all around, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. You can find me at 2-on-1 Fantasy Sports or 2-on-1 FFB, especially on Twitter, and then everything else from theundroppables.com.
Yeah. Under Review is a great one. I think the Devonta Smith episode is still the most watched YouTube video on the Undroppables channel. Actually.
It is. I'm pretty excited about that. Pretty happy about that one. And so it's stuff like that. Like I got a lot of good feedback from that one, so I want to continue doing more of that content because I get a little bit more time to spend on one player and can work on it throughout the week. So I love podcasting. That's definitely where I started from, but as I've gone into different stuff with Undroppables, I've really liked it. So I'm going to leave the weekly shows to you and Brad, and our new one coming up with the Undroppables football show, or I forgot what they changed. The Undroppables
Playbook.
Love that. Can't wait for that to air and to get going during the week. And so, like I said, I think we have enough going on in our network and our website to keep people going with the video content, the podcast, and the live streams, especially with the Undrafted. I think, Jax Falcone's pod is the best that we got. So I'm just going to help support all you guys and then, do my thing on the side.
Yeah. And you can find both of us at theundroppables.com or at theundroppables on Twitter or on the YouTube page where this is airing right now, youtube.com, and you search for The Undroppables. Thanks for watching. Well, speaking of hiatuses, we're going to be taking a quick hiatus next week from the University Podcast. We'll be taking a week off before the season starts just because we're going to be moving to Thursday nights. And next Thursday is the first Tennessee game, and I plan on being there rather than here. So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.